All right. Appreciate you guys joining me on the podcast and also listening live on my Facebook page. Joining me right now. Really excited for this guest. This guy does a lot of things out there in sports media. So you're probably familiar with him in some shape or form if you're a combat sports fan. Ryan McKinnell, who hosts Busted Open and also MMA Tonight for Sirius XM's Fight Nation channel. Very excited to have him on. Ryan, all the way in Las Vegas, my favorite city in the world. How are you, sir?
You got to say, second favorite city? Really? Over Kansas City?
No, I said Las Vegas is my favorite city.
I know. That's what I'm saying. Over Kansas City? That's quite a bold statement. All right.
No,
all right.
I love Kansas City, too. Everyone knows that. But, man,
all right.
I have not been to Vegas. I haven't been on a plane in more than 12 months. So
you know what? I'm thinking it's a little bit of that absence makes the heart grow fonder. I think you do love Vegas, unquestionably, but I also think you might be talking a little crazy because I'm looking at that backdrop and you clearly love Kansas City. So I think it's the fact that you're missing Vegas and it's the pandemic and it's wearing on you. Dude, I miss Vegas. I live 6 miles from the Strip. I see it every day when I go hiking. And I have no idea what it's like. I haven't been there in months. So, we're all in this together.
What is this? What is this whole experience? I want to talk about, what Sirius XM has done with changes, because I know that's been a thing for you guys. But in the city, man, when we hear about this pandemic and how it's really made this negative impact, Las Vegas is one of the cities that come up. How are you doing? The people around you that how's everything going there?
Well, I'll say this. I believe, and I want to be correct, but I believe I saw this a couple days ago. Vegas has the highest unemployment rate in the nation. So if it's right at the top, obviously service industry, tourism. I've been here for 13 years, but I have been coming here since 87. Like I remember when Excalibur opened and they still had the turkey legs and it was like a Renaissance fair. You know what I mean? Like I've seen many different incarnations of Vegas, the amusement park at the MGM. I would always come as a tourist. I spent my 21st here and bet $1,000 hand of blackjack and lost. And that was my entire bankroll. It was I've done so much stupid things here as a visitor and a lover of Vegas. And then I've obviously been a resident and still done a couple stupid things, but I've always had my finger on the pulse, I feel like, of this city. And listen, a lot of people are feeling this in their cities. I grew up in South Bend and I grew up outside of Chicago, and I'm sure people in the Midwest are feeling it. Kansas City, our cities aren't the same. They're not the same, right? And it's an inevitability. People are they're moving back to places where maybe they were more comfortable, whatever the case may be, right? We have people here in Nevada that are coming in from California. It's kind of it. When I went to college, I got a general studies degree, but I focused a lot on the ologies. So anthropology, sociology, I was fascinated with why people did with what they did historically, etc., which is partly what got me into mixed martial arts, right? So this isn't for me and I know I'm being long-winded here, but this isn't for me. Like it's scary and it's certain, and it's weird seeing Vegas change. I have no question that Vegas will rebound because of the love. I always say this: there is no other place like Vegas. There's no city in the world where you say one city's name and it evokes the emotions and thoughts and excitement that Vegas does, right? But from a historical standpoint, right, to get back to my original point, watching this happen, it's traumatic. Everyone's having crappy times and it's not pleasant. But it is living history, and in a weird sort of positive, to see the world change and to see it shift and to see things happen in really monumental ways, and hopefully for the better. That's my hope. We follow each other on Twitter. It's my hope by being outspoken and seeing how badly we're treated as a society, and yes. In terms of culturally, that is factored in, but I think we're seeing now with this pandemic, 500,000, creeping in terms of the death toll, right? This country and this place needs to change for the better, and sometimes really bad and gnarly things need to happen for it to change, but to watch it change is kind of exhilarating and exciting. So I'm remaining optimistic, positive. Yes, it's a weird change. It's weird seeing Vegas kind of empty. It's weird doing my shows from home, but there's, adaption there's a positivity to that adaption, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. And you kind of touched on having to do your show from home. I know you do a lot of great stuff with Sirius XM, and I kind of want to get into that.
Sure.
with Busted Open and MMA Tonight. But can you talk about the change? Because I listen to your guys' channel quite a lot, especially the MMA talk. I know
Thanks.
you guys, you guys do a great job. I know RJ.
Yeah.
At the time when Luke was still with you guys, I mean I listened to you guys a lot. Now it's Jimmy Smith, but
Yep.
all of a sudden, and I didn't really pay attention, I just noticed people were on at different times. How did you guys handle this whole shift during this pandemic with all of your shows?
Well, the time slots remain the same in terms of like MMA Tonight, but there was a lot of shifting early in the pandemic. So MMA Tonight is still 3 to 5 Pacific, 6 to 8 Eastern, right? Busted Open still airs 6 to 9 Pacific, 9 to noon Eastern. They stayed, that general format stayed the same, but there were some issues early in the pandemic where we were off the air entirely for a while. I don't remember. It was a couple weeks.
I do remember that.
Sirius pivoted pretty quickly. And it might have not even have been a couple weeks. It might have been a week because we went straight to what you're doing. We went straight to Zoom. We went straight to shipping out units, quality, microphones and I'm not a tech guy. I'm just saying they got us the ability to set up remotely to handle our situation so we wouldn't have to go into studios and risk our well-being. Also, the Saturday show, which is what I do on Busted Open with Mark Henry, that show was off for a couple months. And I have to give a huge amount of credit to SiriusXM. They paid everyone. The producers got their hourly rate that they would have normally gotten had the shows continued as they would have, right? Presumably. And I got my normal rates for my shows that I would have gotten despite being taken off. So anyway, they pivoted quickly. We went to at-home setups and we started figuring it out. And actually our channel, 156 Fight Nation, we were the guinea pigs for a lot of that setup because of how important Busted Open is, the importance of the callers. It's a very caller-driven show. There's a huge fan base that calls in. Same thing with MMA Tonight. It's Misha, RJ, myself. We're talking, Luke was there for 5 years. Jimmy's been there for a few years. Marissa Rivas, the head of it's been there for over 10 years and the driving force to get combat sports even on SiriusXM because it took a lot of convincing. So it's a lot of passion. There's a lot of like a family vibe there. So we all kind of huddled together. We all put our best kind of foot forward and like, let's figure out how to make this work. And we did. It took a little bit. Still dealing even up until like a month ago. There's still technical issues. And I have gigabit internet and a brand new MacBook Pro. I have a lot of the things that you need to have, but there's unplanned chaos in the radio world. So we're all looking forward to getting back to normal whenever that may be. But I'm also super proud of Sirius and to be able to deal with our own, and this is going to sound like boohoo, it's really not. I'm just really proud of our team to be able to stay positive and bring entertainment when, dude, my mom almost died of COVID over Xmas. My dog died this period. I lost insurance because my wife lost her job. We both lost. I lost my local show here in Vegas. She lost her job with the casino. You know what I mean? And again, this isn't boo-hoo. It's not, we're all going through it on some level, but to know, and I know some of the personal stories my team has went through, right? My thing is my thing, and that's fine. Again, we're all going through something. But to know what my team is going through on some level, to all come in and to do a quality job and to bring entertainment and to stay positive and to be professional, I don't know. I don't think it's talked about much on our end. The media gets so demonized and entertainers specifically, radio people, talking heads, whatever you want to call them. And I get it because a lot of the time we're paid to give opinions and that riles people up. But again, this is a really awkward time, and the pivoting and the positivity and the passion that the team at Sirius is showing. And again, the loyalty and dedication that Sirius showed to keep paying. I know they're $1 billion corporation. I get it. They've got the money. There's a lot of people out there not doing the right thing. So to have someone do the right thing, it felt really good about my choices in my life on who to associate with and to work for.
No, that's good, man. Because I used to work in sports media, especially local radio here in Kansas City, and I know it can be very tough. It's a very tough industry, so that's good to hear that they've certainly been doing the right thing because it can be very grueling at times. Look, like I said, I really enjoy listening to your channel, and I'll be honest, I don't listen to a lot of the boxing coverage nor pro wrestling. But I do. I know good radio when I hear it. I think Dave LaGreca does a great job. I know you host on Saturdays. And sometimes when you guys are talking about things with wrestling, I don't know what's going on, but you guys do sometimes touch on like historic stuff with pro wrestling, and I really enjoy that. I mean, I'll tune in for that any day. I want to know with you, what is it like, because you work with Mark Henry, who is a WWE Hall of Famer. You work with Misha Tate, who, you know, one of the women that really got women's MMA going, along with Ronda Rousey. What is it like working alongside those two people in at Sirius XM?
Fun. It's fun. I mean, it's I'm a kind of out there guy. You listen to me, right? I take a lot of pride. I mean, I started as a sports writer. I came out here 13 years ago to cover mixed martial arts. I figured if I wanted to do it correctly, I needed to be at the center of the universe. I have a huge passion for mixed martial arts. I have a huge passion for everything, right? So to have two people like me, and it's not, I mean, obviously those are the two that I work with most regularly, but there's also Anthony Smith on the MMA side. Obviously you mentioned RJ Clifford, Dave LaGreca, I've obviously worked with, Bully Ray, Bubba Ray Dudley, Tommy Dreamer. I mean, but the entire team, what I'm saying is no matter who I work with, the team over there, Marissa and everyone involved, has been able to assemble this in radio. And you know, this chemistry is so important. Every single person, no matter where we're at in life or they all kind of are willing to be ridiculous. And I truly mean that. Like you listen, so you know that Andre, our producer, talks about rating women's feet in mixed martial arts, and there's like wiki feet, and we bring Misha into that. Like we opened up Misha's DMs one time and we were reading the creepiest stuff from fans, and I thought about that later. I was like, well, that's not the best idea, because that brings a highlight and a spotlight to that. So maybe it encourages more of that deviant behavior. And yeah, like legit, I'm like, that wasn't, but again, the fact that I have co-hosts or hosts that are willing to do that with me and be ridiculous. And we do this every week. So things can get stale, especially during the pandemic when things weren't happening at the regularity or in the ways that we were used to. So working with Misha and Mark regularly, I mean, it's awesome. I have so much respect for both of them. They're both great at radio. They're both professionals and they're hard workers. A lot of the time when you're dealing with, and I shouldn't even say a lot of the time, sometimes, right? In this industry, when you deal with high profile hosts, athletes, entertainers, or whatever, they view radio as kind of a side gig.
You know what's interesting? I never really thought much of. I mean, I have always respected what, you know, Bubba Ray or Bully Ray. What does he go by, Bubba or Bully or both?
I think it's Bully because of the WWE branding thing. So I think he's a Hall of Famer. Is Bubba Ray Dudley a part of the Dudley Boys at ECW, and then he goes as Bully Ray now. But I don't really think he gives I don't know. I'm not going to cuss. I don't think he cares.
No, you can cuss.
Okay. Well, I don't think he gives a shit which one you call him. I think for legal purposes, he's Bully Ray.
Fair enough. Yeah. I've always respected what these people have done, but in kind of a weird way. And look, I loved Michael Bisping's show when he was on with you guys with Louis J. Gomez. But when you listen to these people in kind of a weird way, you just become, I guess, better fans of them, and maybe you just respect what they did even more just because of their commentary. Do you get that kind of reaction sometimes?
Absolutely. And that's the best thing. Okay, so when I was writing for Yahoo, or when I was doing anything that involved being a journalist, I wore that hat and I tried to abide by those standards as much as possible. I'm loud, I'm abrasive. Like there's certain things that, like, I mean, I'm sure I rub people a little bit the wrong way, but at different times. But I was much different than the way I am, I guess, on radio, if that makes any sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so I know what you mean.
What I'm trying to do in radio, it's a little different with Misha and it's a little bit different with Mark. I kind of wear different hats, but I'm still at the core, which I was never as a journalist. And I really, not even on Twitter as a commentator. It's more just, it's weird. I have like split personality disorder. My point is, I try to have fun. I try to think about what I would want a show to sound like with these two people and what I would want to hear from them. And then I try to bring that out of them. I guess like a method to the madness or take you behind the curtain. That's what I'm trying to do at all times. I'm trying to remain, you know, as focused as possible, you know, doing your job as a radio host and teases and all the clock and all those things that you don't really think about, or as a listener, right? But then you're also trying to, and this is one piece of advice to anyone out there listening that would ever want to do this, whether you're a journalist looking to pull quotes and get the best out of your subject, or you're doing radio, listen for the follow-ups. And that's another thing that I try to do with Mark and Misha. Have a conversation, listen to the person that you're hosting the show with. If you have a segment that you're dead set on or whatever, maybe don't be so dead set on it, right? Like if something's really good, listen to the show and know that it's really good, and have the finger on the pulse of the show, and being willing to pivot. And with Mark and Misha, I have two people that are absolutely willing to do that. You know what I mean? And they're willing they're willing to give you good stuff. They're willing to open up. They're willing to just be themselves. And again, that's not always the case, to be able to have those personal moments and bring their personal life out, because I think that's all that, I mean, I think that's the best part of radio. Le Batard does it, you know, down in Florida. I mean, I think an ensemble cast, we have that to an extent. I like that. I like real personality, and I like real chemistry. And again, the team over there is insane. Like Misha, before I started working with Misha, I had no idea. I interviewed her as a subject. I wrote about her. I saw some of her work on television. I didn't know she would talk about going to the AVN Awards and we'd be having Kendra Lust on, and you know what I mean? Just like talking about ridiculous lifestyle stuff, and her 71-hour pregnancy when she gave birth to Amaya, trying to do that without painkillers. Like what? I think she went like 64 hours of labor without painkillers.
She was punching pads right before birth, wasn't she?
Yeah, she's awesome. She's extremely dedicated. There's a reason she, as you set her up, you know, the pioneer, as you said, in the, you know, the legend of mixed martial arts, former UFC bantamweight champion, the rivalry with Ronda Rousey. If that doesn't exist, does women's MMA reach the level it is today with multiple divisions and champions and stars? And I don't know.
Yeah. And you know, she's dedicated. I know is she in South Korea?
She's back.
Oh, she is back. Oh, I did not know that. Oh, okay. Well, she was.
I guess I should announce that more on the show, because you listen fairly regularly. I feel like I should announce that Misha is back, but yeah, she's been back since, I want to say around Christmas, maybe around Thanksgiving, but she's Singapore. She was with one championship. I believe she still is with one championship working over there, but she's back now in Vegas.
She was getting up at 6 a.m. to do those shows. I mean, that's dedication right there, man. Good on her.
Yeah. Well, you talk, yes, she was, but I'm gonna steal some shine from her. When the pandemic hit and we had to do these first, Saturday shows, were like, we had to do them at 6 a.m. was when the show's live, but we had to pre-tape those shows, so we couldn't take callers. I was getting up at 2:30 in the morning on Saturdays and doing those shows. It had me all messed up. So when Misha was doing those 6 o'clock shows, I was complaining about the 2 o'clock shows. She was complaining about the 6 o'clock shows. Doing those shows with her was hilarious, though, because it was 6 o'clock in the morning, and it's Misha Tate. And know what she must be going through with a brand new baby. Yeah. And, seeing the energy she brought and the fun she had, it's certainly like, listen, it was a horrible time. I don't want to ever have any of this happen again. But I'm hoping in 10 years, I'll look back and cherish it and recognize it for the special kind of piece and time that it was. Again, the armor that sort of this is all building is inspiring. Like, if we can do this, we can do anything, right?
Yeah, for sure. No, I mean, the past 10 months, certainly a lot of stories can be told down the line, as you said. A couple of questions left with you. Look, I know you guys have talked about this a lot. Conor McGregor suffered his first ever TKO loss in his MMA career. Conor is kind of interesting because he hasn't fought a whole lot. I know he was planning on fighting last year, but look, nothing went as planned last year, as we've kind of just alluded to many times. But he suffered a big loss, and I know Dana, according to one reporter out there, I guess Dana's still trying to meet with Khabib. I don't know. I know Dana was pushing really hard for that rematch between Dana and Khabib, Conor and Khabib. What do you make of that recent loss with Conor? Do you feel like his star power is still there, or do you feel like it's declining? I feel like with one more, if he does lose again, I think that he could be on the decline.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely. I mean, listen, it's what was he to begin with? It was such a meteoric, just loud arrival. It's 5-6 years ago, and I still can't believe he knocked Aldo out in 13 seconds. I was in the room when he predicted he was going to do it, and then I was in the room when he did it, and then I had my jaw on the floor that entire night. I was with Danny Acosta, former employee of Sirius XM, and my former co-host. And I just remember sitting in a cafe later that night. It was like 3 a.m, and I'm just like, what? How? Because I was there the night Aldo beat Brown in the WEC for that title, that same title that they turned into the UFC title that he held for 7 years or whatever it was. And to see Conor go out there and do that, it was incredible. But again, it was so loud, it was so quick. It was a great run, but it wasn't a legendary run. He's now 3-4 in his last 7 fights, if you include that Mayweather loss, which I do, because that was the most public loss. And what we're talking about is juice. We're talking about star power. We're talking about, is he going to be what he was? And can he, how much of a hit can he take? He's taken a lot of hits. And in the mainstream public eye, because that's all we care about here. That's all we're talking about. And he'll always be a star in MMA because of what he was and what he meant to the sport. He'll always have a place. I mean, as long as he doesn't BJ Penn himself,
Yeah, it's true.
There's other people out there that have hurt their legacy. But Penn was the, recent that comes to mind. Anyway, so, I mean, they have to be careful. It's in an odd spot with Conor because, I mean, you can't give him anyone just in the top 10 because anyone in the top 10 could potentially beat him. And if that happens, well, then you want to be strategic about who's going to beat him, right? So it presents this challenge for UFC matchmakers. You have to still give him the biggest fights possible. You can't wait too long on the Diaz trilogy, because if they both keep losing, you're going to lose half of the buy rate of what that would have been. And damn it, that's a really good trilogy fight. And it's still pretty good, and you're still going to sell on it. My advice would be for them to do that is probably right now, because they're both coming off of losses. They're both still young-ish. They both still have that enigma and that interest. I mean, it's not implausible. You look at that 155 division. We just had Beneil Dariush on the show, right? Yesterday, Wednesday. Dariush might beat McGregor. You don't want that to happen. But you have to use them. You have to figure something out. You don't want someone to come up and make noise. You have a very easy situation at 155. You have 4 or 5 people in a mini tournament. I don't care how you pair it at this point. I mean, would I like Oliveira and Poirier? Yes, that would be my preferred selection. Poirier should be the champion right now anyway. But McGregor is still there. You need to figure out something. Nate Diaz came out and talked to Ariel this week and said he wasn't going to fight at 155 anymore.
I heard that.
I think he'd rethink that if you wanted to throw him in a 6-man, make it a 6-man with Gaethje, Chandler, Oliveira, Poirier, Conor, all that good stuff. Then you build it. You tell the story that way. If Conor can make it out of that, if he can even make it to the finals of that, if he can win his first round, he just needs one win, really. Because the McGregor Nation's always going to believe. You see it on Twitter.
Yeah.
They were like, oh, yeah, he just gassed. He was a year out. It was the leg kicks. They added up. They're looking for reasons to not acknowledge that he might not be the Messiah that they thought he was. But you can't deny what he was. He had Floyd Mayweather, and I've talked about this on the show. It's really important for historical context. Conor McGregor was such a big star in combat sports that Floyd Mayweather was chasing him down to get a fight with him. And then that fight did multiple millions of views of buys on pay-per-view and had everyone buying chicken wings and throwing parties, and people were talking about it. I called it the biggest con in pro wrestling history. Like, it was a pro wrestling match. It was Ocean's 14. I said it before the fight happened, and I stand by it. But again, it was Conor McGregor's star power that had that, and you can never take that away. Losses are going to hurt it. You can't take away what's already happened. So I really don't know. I have serious concerns because it's not like he didn't lose to Diaz. You saw the Diaz fight.
Yeah.
It was the same way. It looked like the same way to Poirier. Volume accumulated. He found someone that could eat his punches early in the fight, which is exactly what happened. Poirier did not go away. Conor accumulated damage, wore down, and a tougher man took him out, which is what Diaz did the first time. Credit to Conor. Conor came right back and finished him the second time, but Conor needs to figure something out. He needs to figure something out. So it's going to be interesting. Still the biggest star in the sport.
You got time for one more question before we let you go?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, I told you, I love Vegas. I go there a few times a year when there was not a pandemic. We don't have a hockey team here in Kansas City. I mean, we've had minor league teams. We have a minor league team right now, but it's just not easy to get hooked into as much. And when Vegas got a hockey team, I said, okay, this is interesting. I'm going to follow this team because I don't have a team to follow. And I love watching the U.S. national team when they play, but I've never had an NHL team, and so I started following the Vegas Golden Knights, and to the point where I actually got NHL center ice for this. My family and I were huge fans, and I remember when that tragic event happened at Mandalay Bay. That was the team that really tried to bring that city together. Yeah. And I was so fucking heartbroken, man, the way the season ended last year. Can you just kind of describe to a Golden Knights fan who doesn't live in Vegas, what has that team done for the city in the last 4 years?
That's obviously a lot. I am a season ticket holder down towards the glass. I was there that night. That first season, I had plans on selling a good portion of my tickets. And I'm a sports fan, and then they just kept winning, and I couldn't not go. It became like an addiction. Yeah. Because each night we were leaving, winning. We're first in the West. We're first, in the Pacific. Like, what is going? I say we. I'm a Blackhawks fan, but this was that one time where, all right, I've been here for 13 years. I've been coming here my whole life. I love Vegas. I am Vegas. Like, this is more of my city than half the residents here. I got real protective over it. Mm-hmm. So I was like, I'm allowed to have a second team, damn it. It went against, I can't show you my Cubbies down here, but it's all sports and music, but it's all Chicago and just like you, right? So yeah, I just wanted hockey in Vegas. So I was one of the first 10,000 to put my deposit down to even get hockey here. I wanted the Blackhawks to come here. I wanted to see Ovechkin not win a Stanley Cup, but I wanted to see Ovechkin, Crosby. I'm a hockey fan. I've always been a hockey fan. So that first season, man, specifically, because it's still, if you live through it, it's going to be with you forever. I was down on the Strip the night of the shooting. That night of the shooting, October 1st, was the final preseason game in Vegas Golden Knights history. We went to of that first season. We went to that final preseason game. We went to dinner at Park MGM. We pulled out at the Cosmo. We pulled out of Cosmo. I went straight instead of going right. So I went straight down Harmon, and I went home heading east. Had I turned right on the boulevard, and I'm getting technical, and went south, my point is I would have went right through at the exact time. I would have went right through all the gunfire and everything. Wow. So I remember driving down Harmon and seeing a bunch of ambulances and police come down, and I do mean a bunch, but I just thought, oh, it's another wild Sunday night in Vegas, like something great, some barricade situation. And then obviously it turned into what it turned into. For those that don't remember, the UFC held a fight card with Demetrius Johnson that Saturday, and there was a lot of talk, should they not. It was very chaotic. It was very intense. It's sad to say, as an American, I wasn't surprised. I was 16 when Columbine happened. The next year, 15. The next year, we had identification cards and lanyards at my high school in Indiana, and we all had to wear them at all times, and it was like complete lockdown. It was been trauma after trauma after trauma. So October 1st happening, again, that wasn't a surprise, but that was my personal experience. It was sad. It was terrible. It was horrible. But that team, what it did for all, like you said, you were fucking heartbroken. You weren't the only one. Remember, people, and again, the media and the videos that were played and the gunfire, I still hear it today. That's real PTSD. I mean, we need to examine that going forward. You guys remember the sounds of those machine guns going, or the Paddock shooting the machine gun outside the window? That was intense. You know what I mean? And the city was reeling from it. You said you were fucking heartbroken. The world was fucking heartbroken, because that was a real camera phone sort of situation. Like, people got a lot of footage of that, and it reached the world in a very intense way, and it stuck with us in a real intense way. Anyway, to the point you originally asked about the Golden Knights, you got to think, I think it was 4 days after that, they have that first home game, and you've dealt with all that. I mean, as a nation, yes, you've heard the sounds. Vegas is dealing with it. I remember the shock that we were all in, the look on people's faces. For that one night, I was there in the arena. I mean, the game preceded with like a 30-minute celebration of life for all victims lost. I believe it's 58. first responders took the ice with Survivor. I mean, there will never be any. I mean, I don't know. I don't want to use words like never and be hyperbolic, but I will never see anything like that again. I hope to see never anything like that again. I mean, it was intense. Everybody was crying, myself included, because you couldn't not. Just to see everyone cry, 20,000 people cry. I've never been to a funeral with 20,000 people. I didn't go to Kobe's memorial. I don't know what that's like. It was intense. But the healing that happened and the honoring that happened, and then the Derek England coming out and saying what he said to the crowd, and then the winning happened. He scored the first goal, and then you maybe like everything that kind of falls into place. And then I remember every game after that. I don't remember individual games of an 80+ game season, counting, playoffs. Like, I don't remember that. I remember that season. I remember the feeling. I remember you asked what it did for the city. You can't quantify what it did for the city. You know what I mean? Because that's that kind of magic of sports, where that story was so unbelievable. It didn't make you forget about October 1st. Nothing's ever going to make you forget about October.
No.
Nothing is going to make you forget about that. But it is going to give you something else to focus on in a profound way. If they were just winning a few games, or if they were like putting up 30, Carlson had the 40 goals or whatever, they were surprising people, it would have been cool. But to go to the Stanley Cup as an inauguration team with castoffs, I remember doing radio on ESPN Las Vegas with Steve Cofield and Adam Hill the day after that game happened. The whatever it was, game 5, when Alex Ovechkin hoisted the Stanley Cup out here in Vegas, and that Cinderella first season came to an end.
Yeah.
I was telling, and Cofield made this like, it was like this senior video, like your senior year of high school, and you do the like, or like that Sarah McLachlan, caged pet commercial where it's just like the saddest shit ever. And I was just like listening to this, and he's like, "Don't you laugh. Don't you?" I'm like, dude, this is like, I get it. And this is the context I gave. Every single year in every 4 major sports, 5, technicality, right? Whatever you want to say is a major sport. Champions are crowned in all of these major sports every single year. Go ahead and tell me who the 1985 Super Bowl champion was. Now, I know because I'm a Bears fan, but tell me who the 85 World Series champion is. Because I believe it was the Royals.
Yeah.
Right? I'm just saying, to the general public, no one gives a shit. Nobody knows who the 1988 Wimbledon champion is. No one knows. No one knows. But when you ask for the rest of sports history, if you were alive in 2017, who went to who is the only team in sports history to go to a final in their inaugural season? It's the Vegas Golden Knights. It is bigger than any championship. And that is the context I tried to give, because it is true. It is bigger than any championship. Championships are won and lost. You have multiples. You have dynasties that are sometimes forgotten. You think people know about Red Auerbach and Bill Russell and the Celtics? They don't. Not anyone who's under 20. Not really. Not really. So it's just, again, you can have dynasties. You can have 11 rings, and sometimes that doesn't even matter. But again, stopping the sports world and having people who weren't even hockey fans, and you're not the only one. Remember I mentioned Marissa Rivas, the creator of Fight Nation? She lives in New York. She works in Manhattan. She's a Sirius employee. She loves the Golden Knights.
Yeah,
she's been to a few games. So, one thing I did enjoy about that final, Luke Thomas versus me. Luke was a Capitals fan. I remember that. I was a Golden Knights fan, and we had a lot of fun with that. I love Luke. I miss Luke, but
Luke's awesome.
For those of you that follow Luke, I mean, him going on Joe Rogan's podcast and challenging Joe, that made me very happy. Luke was a strong voice at Sirius, and I appreciated that, because it took some of the heat off of me. I don't like talking about politics. I don't like feeling like I'm on a soapbox, or like I'm trying to clout chase or anything like that. But there are certain things I feel like in human history that you can't be quiet, or I can't be quiet about. Yeah. And I feel Luke feels the same way, and I really appreciate that. Because again, as we've seen with good old Gina Carano, sometimes you take heat from the mob. Now, again, Gina Carano making light of the Holocaust and drawing ridiculous comparisons, and me just trying to speak up for science and progress. I mean, take your pick which side of the Anyway, getting a little off track. Sorry about that. But
No,
you
that's
get
good.
the
We
point.
talked about Gina Carano last
Yeah.
segment, so it's all good. But
Yeah,
yeah,
that's good. That's good.
look, I attended the 3-year anniversary and the 10-year anniversary of 9/11 at Arrowhead Stadium. The 10-year one was special because they had a flag the size of the entire field. Players
Yeah.
from both the Chiefs and the Bills were holding on to that flag. Cheerleaders, everyone. It was special. You remember those moments for sure. And you know, as a Golden Knights fan, I'm so excited they're still doing hockey. Hopefully it keeps happening. I know they got a scare recently, but man, the thing I hate is they come on at 9:00 mostly because they're keeping all their games on the West.
Yeah.
So that's going to be tough on me, but I'm still going to be following the team no matter what. Hey,
Awesome.
Ryan, you guys do such a great job over at Sirius XM. Stay safe. I'll be listening. Would love to do this again sometime. In the meantime, stay
Definitely.
safe. We'll keep in touch, man. Thanks for coming on.
Buddy. Good times.
All right, take care. Ryan McKinnell, Sirius XM.